Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L coming in with a My Hero Academia anime viewer guide video. This time specifically we're covering Monoma and what happens when he tries to copy One for All. If you're wondering what he means by a blank when he says a blank, this video is for you. I noticed that there was something strange happening on my channel that people are really wondering about this, so this is a more formal video. So the anime recently had Monoma show that he drew a blank in regards to Izuku, but what does that really mean? I'm going to give you the rundown because even to this day, there are manga fans that aren't applying the logic fully even though it's right in front of them. It might be a little bit tricky depending on how you approach it, so let's get into it. First, when Monoma touches Izuku, it is my opinion based on the analysis and the rules as written in the manga that he copies the capability of One for All. That is, Monoma gains the ability to pass the One for All quirk on as the first user of the copied One for All. If someone says Monoma cannot copy One for All, that answer is incorrect due to incompleteness. In chapter 217, Monoma gives us the examples, so I will walk you through the logic. So first, the thing that instigates all this is Izuku. When it comes to Izuku, he says he drew a blank. He wasn't able to use One for All in the same way that Izuku does. But why was that the case? The answers are all in 217. In that chapter, Monoma tried to copy Eri's quirk. This is what happened. Notice the horn, but also notice that he called it a blank. After that, Monoma explained what he means by a blank. A blank refers to a quirk that has to store something in order to work. Next, he gives us the flat explanation. His power only copies the bare bones essence of a quirk. He then goes on to add the stipulation, but if the copied ability needs to convert some stockpiled resource into energy, then I wouldn't be able to replicate whatever is accumulated. Note that he's not saying he can't copy the quirk that requires the accumulated stockpile. He's saying he can't copy the stockpile itself. Now here's the crazy thing. Even though Monoma says this, people still say he flat out can't copy One for All when the manga tells them flat out, yes he can. There's even a stipulation underneath the Fat Gum example. He just can't copy the stockpile of One for All. And in One for All, the stockpile is the strength of the users and the vestiges themselves. Like he says, he can't copy the stockpiled resource. And just to clarify, we did get another example with Fat Gum, and this was a author example. He's obviously never copied Fat Gum, but the author used Fat Gum because this was the most obvious kind of thing to kind of play around with. In no spot does it say that he was unable to copy Fat Gum's quirk. When you look at the fine text, it says he wouldn't be able to use Fat Gum's quirk effectively. And then look at Eri again. He calls her a blank, but notice the horn. Again, he copied the ability to build up the resource. The horn is the mechanism by which the resource is built up. But in this case, the charge on Eri's horn, he can't copy the charge itself. So, when we come back to it, what happens if Monoma copies One for All? By the current definition that the character himself gives us, he copies the ability to pass on the quirk as the copied One for All's first user. There is nothing in the manga that says this is incorrect. But if someone says Monoma can't copy One for All, that is flat out incorrect by the logic of the manga. Can't copy One for All is different from my power only copies the bare bones essence of a quirk. And honestly, if we're talking about it, I think what throws people off is probably this line when they use essence of a quirk. Honestly, essence was probably the worst word for this. It should have been capability. Now, going off from that, like when it comes to One for All and Monoma, the real question is, if Monoma has someone eat his hair while he's copied One for All and he essentially passes on the quirk, will the copied One for All stockpile fade away when the time's up, even if it's in another person's body? That's the real question. If the author was being reasonable, he'd have the quirk dissipate. I don't know how that would work, but that'd be interesting. Now, using this definition, we can also talk about what people he probably can't copy the quirk for, right? The first one, when you have the Fat Gum example, very clearly Momo. Momo requires fat, although she doesn't really have that much. She probably has a little bit more than Monoma does, but Monoma would probably never be able to use Momo's quirk well, even though he copies it. The reason for that is, with Momo, the accumulated resource is a little bit more abstract in that it's her knowledge. Momo's quirk requires knowledge of molecular structure to be able to make the things she does. Without that, Monoma won't be able to make anything. So that would be another example of a quirk that requires an accumulated resource that Monoma really wouldn't be able to touch. Are there any other examples? Sure, Sugarman. Sugarman in the sense that if Monoma isn't eating sugar, he can't use the quirk well. But that's the same thing that happens to Sugarman. Anyway, those are the basics when it comes to Monoma's quirk. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope this clarified some things for you. And again, if anyone ever flat out says that Monoma can't copy one for all, ask them what does he mean when he says I can copy the bare bones essence of a quirk. Have them define what the bare bones essence of one for all is, and you'll quickly see what kind of person you're arguing with. Anyway, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned to the channel if you want to see my impression review video for My Hero Academia, the most recent episode. Till next time, though, have a great day.